first thing I do when I'm doing these type of commission pieces is I tear my paper to the size that I need for the canvas. The next thing I do is I get to work on drawing out the character for the commissioned piece, or in this case, the animated character for this painting. So I'm a huge fan of the anime and the manga Naruto, and I was really interested in making sure the details are really sharp and fine in this one, just so I can make sure I do it justice as a big fan. So I really, spent way more time than I planned to doing the drawing. So once I have the drawing to a point where I'm really happy with where it is, I map out how many stencils I need to make. So I decide what colors are going to be on what stencil, what colors I'm going to use, how I'm going to use shadowing and everything, and I write it down so that I don't lose track of how many stencils I need to make. And then I go ahead and start making the stencils using a kind of a charcoal pastel transfer method that I tend to use for these sorts of commissions, and it works really well. I should actually explain what I mean by this technique or method that I'm using to make the stencils. So I have my drawing already, and then I cover the back with a pigment of some sort, usually charcoal or soft pastel. And then I basically outline the drawing on top of another piece of paper that I'll mark or score somehow, and do that over and over until I have all my stencils. Now that I've mapped out all my stencils, I decided I wanted to do the background and figure out the background design for this painting, since I've already did a lot of work on the actual figure and how will I make this figure work in this background. And so I spent some time just working on the background, kind of abstract setting, and going to fill the void with the actual character. And while that's drying, I start cutting out my stencil with my X-Acto knife, which takes a good amount of work. Now, this is one of the more nerve-wracking parts of this process, and it's actually using the stencils as they're supposed to be used and not misaligning them, because it could be really easy to misline them up if I don't follow my scores correctly, or if I didn't score it the right way or as accurate as I thought I did, and that's always a little more of a hassle later. But this one, I think I did a pretty good job at keeping everything lined up accordingly. Now that I've gotten the majority of the painting completed with my stencil work, I like to go back in and use a paint pen or paint marker to add some other details with the outlining of certain parts of the painting and certain smaller details that are just easier to do with a paint pen than to try and make a really tiny stencil. And I wanted to get all these details in before I added the final stencil work of shadowing.